Hello and welcome to a new vlog. Welcome to this series about my albums. Last time we talked about the Elmary album, my first release. Today let's talk about my second album, Transit Realities. In 2010, Transit Realities was officially released on MellowJet Records. However, the recordings started in 1992 and finished in 1993. There are two major stories on Transit Realities. One is now called Alaska, the other one Metropolitan. The basic story about the album are several inspirations that left a huge impact on me and my friend Mark Guntlersberger, who also participated in the development of Transit Realities. One was our visit to Berlin in 1990, and the other one was my involvement with a virtual reality project at school. So in 1990 I visited Berlin together with my friend Mark Guntlersberger, and the impact that the city left on us was quite amazing. So I decided to make a track that was inspired by this impression. So the track that was recorded in 1991, which I later called Bahnhof Zoo, was recorded with the same technique as Elmary, by using two cassette decks. In 1992 I decided to buy a 4-track cassette recorder, which is this one, and on these I made several recordings, and some ended up as Transit Realities, and these tapes are the actually original tapes that have all the recordings on them. This was also the first time that I was using a computer to control the synthesizers with the sequencer. Before that I was using the internal sequencers of, for example, the Alka Syntax and the Pro 1 and the Monopoly, which had their own arpeggiators and sequencers. Since I had this Amiga 500 computer from Commodore, I decided to get a MIDI interface. As a sequencer solution I used Music X. In Elmary we used the Alka Syntax as the main instrument. For Transit Realities we were looking for some new techniques besides analog synthesis. I think it was in 1991 that I found the Korg DSS-1 sampling synthesizer, and here it is. As you can see, it's quite a massive synthesizer. It's got sampling capabilities as well as additive synthesis and wave drawing with a real, actually analog filter and a cool delay. In 1991 I was working as an interim at the University of Delft at the virtual reality department. There was a quite interesting department, and virtual reality, as we know now, was very new then. At that time graphic processors were not so powerful as they are now, and it wasn't possible to create a very realistic world that moved very smoothly at that time. Everything was very jerky and very basic colors and very surreal. Also in the 90s I saw some documentaries about Alaska, the Rocky Mountains area, and the wildlife and forests were enough to inspire me, together with the virtual worlds where you can virtually visit those enchanting worlds, were very much inspiring me to make music out of that. In early '92 I made some recordings that was later re-recorded to become the Alaska track. I still got it on cassette, so let me just play a piece of it. After I finished the restorations of the Elmery recordings in 2008, I decided to trace the recordings that I did in 1992 and 1993. I didn't really like the sound quality of that mix. It didn't have that much dynamics, and it missed some space, and it didn't live for some reason. So I decided to find the original tapes, which were stored very carefully in my archives, and transfer them into the digital world in Logic by using the original 4-track cassette deck. So 4 tracks is quite limited for such a production like Transit Realities. And each track contained more instruments, but not always at once. From 4 tracks, I could end up with something like 24 tracks, and was able to isolate those instruments and give them their own treatment. With this new mix and also the new techniques by using new effects and separate each instrument as much as possible, I was able to make a more clear and more dynamic mix with more depth and warmth than I could with the original 2-track recordings that were left on the VHS recordings. In 2010, that is 18 years after the first recordings of Transit Realities, it was finally released on CD on MellowJet Records. I shelved it for some reasons, but in 2008 I discovered it, and I decided that it would be a good idea to share it and release it officially. The MellowJet Records release looks like this. It's available both in as a CDR or as a digital download. You can order it by clicking on the link to my website. So I hope you liked this episode about Transit Realities. Next up will be Singularities, my first release on Groove Unlimited label. But for now, I'm signing off and hope to see you next time, either in the next episode or in a new vlog. I'm Rene Splinter. Bye.